GT Divide Podcast coming to another episode. So we are in October, Domestic Violence Awareness Month. In honor of this month, I'm going to do quite a bit of podcasts about some of the abuse that people encounter in relationships, mental abuse, physical abuse. I will also talk to some people that have survived domestic violence. Obviously, I have my own personal experience with it, but from a different perspective. So we're going to talk about that this month. I hope you guys stick with us throughout the month. Give your stories. If you are a survivor of domestic violence, we stand with you. All we hope that as we grow as a nation, as we grow as a people, that we can start to recognize the signs and start to make a difference in some of the lives of people that are struggling. This guy is talking about how it's hard for you when you're in a relationship with narcissists to they don't communicate. They ask you how you feel to gather information, but you'll never really know how they feel. Never really know how they feel. There's a reason for that, but we'll talk about it.
All know communication skills aren't going to work with a narcissist, right? You can lead with vulnerability and respect. You can say all the right words. You can even apologize first. None of it's going to matter because they aren't interested in reciprocating any of it, right? Instead of saying communication doesn't work with a narcissist, what we should be saying is narcissists don't communicate. And it's actually really important that we get this right because our words matter. And we've unintentionally fallen into a pattern where we're in this submissive role. We're used to feeling like we need to work to earn our value and worth in their eyes, right? We're once again placing the burden on us to fix things, to heal.
Number one, your value, your perceived value from a person. So understand this, that when you're dealing with somebody that has NPD, first of all, they lack empathy, so they can't understand your feelings. They don't understand your feelings. They'll never be able to feel the way you feel, or even have the audacity to put themselves inside your shoes when you're in that moment to understand you. And so they put you in a position where, and some of you guys have gone through this, where you feel like you're always trying to validate what you've done. You're always trying to regulate their emotions. They typically get very emotional because when you communicate with somebody, what happens when you're communicating with your partner is the ability to take responsibility and have accountability. So when you're communicating, they have to take some accountability and responsibility for how you're feeling, right? If they did something to you and you're communicating about it, they have to take some responsibility for how you feel. The problem is that they don't want to take responsibility, so they won't do it. They won't do it. They also can't. They don't possess the ability to take accountability because you have to have empathy to take accountability. I think empathy is a key factor in responsibility that people don't oftentimes talk about. They'll like push certain things in front of you to get you off of the track, essentially.
Heal them, to save this relationship instead of holding them accountable to doing the work. It's not communication that didn't work. It's that they aren't interested in our perspective. Why would we expect?
And that's a key. People with this personality disorder, they don't care about your perspective. Your perspective doesn't matter to them. The only perspective that matters to them is their perspective. And so you have to understand that that's a lack of empathy that puts them in a position to do that. So if your perspective doesn't matter to them, and you know your perspective doesn't matter to them, it's going to be hard to communicate with them because they don't care. Once you realize that they don't care, then you can move accordingly, and you'll get it. I mean, typically, let's say you're communicating about an issue that came up, for example. Say they stole some money out of your wallet. You find out about it, so you want to communicate about it. You want to communicate. You don't even it's not even a confrontation. Like you'll get in a point in relationships with these people that you don't even want to you don't want no confrontation. You just want to just communicate the best as you can without even, because if you feel like if you trigger them, snap, it's gonna pop off, right? They've conditioned you to that, right? They've raged out on you so many times that now your expectation is that you can't say something that will trigger them, because if you say something that will trigger them, then they're going to go out into a rage and it's going to be a huge dress, knockdown, drag out fight. That happens in these relationships. So what will happen is They'll tell you a lot. Like you can have evidence. You can be like, man, hey, I got this photo of you inside my wallet taking my money out. And they'll be like, man, that was a different day, right? Or that didn't happen. I promise you, I promise you that didn't happen. That's because they are indeed the only reality that works for them is their reality. There is no other reality out there. Once you understand that they're stuck in a reality that is only theirs, that they operate, they control, they run, then you'll understand what your place is. You hear me out. They operate, they control, they run, and you're in their reality, so they're in control of everything. So you're just a pawn on the chessboard, essentially. Once you understand that, then you'll be able to make the moves necessary for yourself, but you have to understand that first.
Communication or emotional connection or empathy to work with someone who we admit is self-centered and manipulative and prideful and arrogant and demeaning towards us. What type of mutually respectful relationship is even possible with someone like that? The sad truth is a narcissist forces a relationship towards a toxic place and then blames you for reacting negatively. They overstep your boundaries, they call you names, they take advantage of your kindness. Even if you were courageous enough to be vulnerable and share a feeling, it's quickly dismissed or invalidated.
Let me add a layer. So when you share it, it's quickly dismissed or invalidated or later used against you. That's one piece that he missed there. They will use what you told them in your weakest moments against you later on to win a fight. They will do that. You will tell them some stuff. You'll be like, hey, I don't like this. And they'll literally, you literally do the one thing that you said that you don't like. They'll do it. Once you see that pattern of behavior, then you understand what you're dealing with. Then you make the correct moves.
Said that. Your feelings aren't my problem. I was just kidding. Can't you take a joke? And when you eventually detach and distance yourself to protect your own mental health, they're still going to blame and shame you for leaving because they always have to be the victim.
And that's the key, man. The victimhood mentality. Granted, there's levels to it. There's levels to how much of a victim they can be, but typically they will put themselves in the victim role. It's always, and in a couple ways that I do this, I'm gonna give you a couple things before I get out of here. One, they will talk about themselves. So you'll be in a knockdown, drag out fight. You've called them out on something. You caught them in a lie. Say you caught them in a lie. You caught them in a lie. You bring it up. You got evidence. You're talking to them about it. They'll be like, well, I'm just a shitty person. I'm just a fuck up. I'm just damaged goods. Like they'll do it. That's because they want sympathy, right? When they do that in the situation where they don't want to take account, it's because they don't want to take accountability. That is a cop out for taking accountability. If people do that to you guys when you bring up something that somebody else has done, a normal human being, healthy human being with empathy is going to be okay. Yes, I messed that up. I apologize for that. I understand why you're upset with me. I understand, I get it. Because if I did that to you, that's the thing. Listen. If I did that to you, or if you did that to me, let me switch it up. Sorry. If you did that to me, man, I would feel bad. But the problem is, the narcissist will never say that. They will never put themselves in your shoes. They will never say, "Well, if you did that to me, how would I react?" They don't think like that, and that goes for most of your cluster personality. I mean, borderline people do it too. Your covert narcissist people do it too. They all do it. I mean, your biggest victims are going to be your borderline personality people. They're going to be the ones that are the biggest victims out of all. Your grandiose narcissistic people typically don't want to be your victim because they're so prideful that victimhood ain't just not. It's not a way that it's not something that they use to be able to manipulate. They don't use victimhood. Now, covert narcissist, borderline personality, sort of them two are kind of intermingled. You can have both of them at the same time. They will play the victim 110%, and they will shame themselves. Those are shame-based disorders, based on shame. If somebody tells you that they're ashamed of a lot of stuff from their past, and in their actions, they do these things in conversations, right? They may need some help, because shame pushes people to manipulate, to lie, right? Because when you're ashamed of who you are, when you're ashamed of what you've done, right? In order to save yourself from the pain, you will do whatever it takes. And so Understand that. And remember, like, constantly, I mean, if somebody will lie to your face all the time, consistently, I mean, and it can be about dumb little stuff, right? And if there's an excuse behind a lie, like, well, I lied because I don't want to hurt you. What? Or I lied because I'm scared. Like those type of things. Like it's a I know I fucked up. I don't want to take responsibility for it. So this is why I did it. This is why I did it. This victim thing here is why I did it. So understand that you can't communicate with these people, and if you can't communicate with somebody, you can't have a relationship. That's the key. Communication is important in a relationship, and if you can't communicate with an individual, you can't have a relationship with that person. Once you realize that piece, you will be successful in life and relationships, and you will have a happy, healthy life. But number one thing to do in these situations is love yourself first. If you encounter these situations, man, reach out, comment below. I'll put my email in there. You can email me, chat with me. I chat with people all the time. I conversate about relationships all the time. So hear me out, guys. Love yourself. This GT Divide podcast. Please like, subscribe, share. I'm out.